Hello guys, welcome back again. So today we'll just level up our understanding in terms of how to draw realistic eyes and the structures around it as well. And hopefully with this video we can improve our illustrations and then try to change up our styles and add more realistic elements into our drawings and characters so that she or he looks much more interesting and appeal to yourself much more as well. So yeah, but before that, we just talk about the basic knowledge. So as we all know, that the eye placement, eyes is somewhere around the skyline, and it has a shape of something like this, something like that. But there are multiple different shapes, like this kind of cooler shape, cuter shape, normal shape, all kinds of different shapes. And in terms of equal distance, it means that the eyes is this size, right? And it's the same size from here, here, and here. Yeah. But these three are the basic knowledge that we know in terms of eye drawing. But there are two topics I want to talk about today. First is the eye itself, in terms of the anatomy and what kind of elements we should put in when drawing realistic version, and also the face structure as well. And I think face structure is very interesting. So yeah, I'll just tell you later. But first, in terms of eyes itself, there are four things I think should be added or should be considered when drawing realistic eye. First is the thickness of the lower eyelids. So if I bring up the real eye, and you can see that by means of the thickness of the lower eyelids, you can see that there's like a thickness over here and here. And this part is a place that I used to ignore. So when drawing eyes, I used to do this, right? But now you should start thinking about, you can think about the thickness of the lower eyelids as well. There we go. And I know this is somewhere here. Okay. And in terms of the lower eyelids is shorter, it's a very interesting part that I learned. It's like when you look at the upper eyelids, and then the lower eyelids connection is somewhere here, right? And then it comes down here, and then the upper eyelid continues to progress to here. So that means that the connection here and here means that the upper eyelid is shorter. So that will lead to a more or less like a almond shape of the eyes. So if you take into consideration of upper eyelids and lower eyelids, it will look something like this. And then the thickness of the lower eyelids. Good. And then in terms of eyelashes placement, I brought out two photos from it, and you can see that this one I think is the fake eyelashes because it's too organized, whereas this one is the real one. And as you can see that first, in terms of the perspective, it's almost like 45 degrees, and then these parts are facing towards us, so that will be quite straight, whereas when it's going towards the side, it looks longer, and then some of them will cross over as well. Sorry, there's a note down here, so it has things that I want to talk about. Hopefully I don't miss them. But yeah, okay. Okay, so they cross over. So it's the perspective that you should consider, and also the crossing over of the eyelashes on the top part. Whereas the lower eyelashes, you can see that if I improve their opacity, you can see that it starts from the outside of the thickness, like as I mentioned, the thickness, the thickness. It starts from the outside, and then still the the perspective and stuff, and these parts will be longer. So these are the things you should be aware of when drawing eyelashes. So if we draw almond shape, the thickness of the lower eyelid, and then the pupil, right? And then if you want to draw the eyelashes, then that means that these parts will be going towards us, some crossovers, and then like that. Whereas these parts will be shorter and then will be longer as well. And it comes out from the outer border of the lower eyelid. Good. Finally, the lacrimal carbuncle. This is a thing that I know exists, but I used to just ignore it completely. So it's this part of the eye. This part. And this is the part where we have a lot of different glands for oil or like sweat and stuff. And the tear duct is somewhere close to there as well. So that means that when drawing eyes, you will also take into that consideration of there's something over here. So see, that's something like a true, more realistic eye. And finally, the thing to note for this lacrimal carbuncle is that it is more protruded. It's going forward compared to same going inside. Look at the mirror for yourself. It's going slightly outwards. So that means that when drawing it, you should take into the consideration of it's going forward instead of purely just going towards the side. It doesn't make sense if you draw it this way. But yeah, that's all. Two things to improve your eye drawing a little bit more is about the guidelines. So this is a guideline I often see in other YouTubers' video, and I tried it myself, and I think it's pretty good. It's more or less a knowledge in your mind. I didn't really draw it out, but I have it in my mind. So this means that we know that eye is a spherical, and the iris, this is the iris, and this is the pupil, right? It's very helpful if you're doing more or less like a 45 degrees angle or more sideways view angles. In terms of the size of the eyelids and the pupil placement, you can see that if you're 45 degrees angle, obviously that the shape of the eye will change compared to just purely at the front. And in terms of the pupil placement, I saw in other YouTubers' video, I can't remember who it was, but he said that in 45 degrees, it's more or less like a 3:1 or 2:1 ratio in terms of if we drop down the iris from here, the pupil is here, and the end of the eye is here, it's more or less like a 3:1 or 2:1. So it's something to put in your mind, and it helps guide you when putting your pupils compared to just pure front view where it is just purely in the center. So now, facial structures. This is the most interesting part of realistic eye drawing. And there are 4 different things I think are quite important. The first one is sunken eye. So from this guidelines, you can see that the eye area is like a socket. It's more inwards into the face. And we have the eyes, something like this, right? Something like that. And this is the nose. But the area to be aware of is actually here. So if you look into my face or your own face with a mirror, you can see that the eyes is sunken into the face, the nose is protruded outwards. So this area is like a transition area from low area, like sunken area to the nose bridge, which is more protruded. So that means that when you're coloring, and let's say the sun is from here, this area will be slightly shaded because it's more inwards, and this area will be shaded more because of the nose is blocking the light. Yeah, this area. And the second part is the eyebrow. Eyebrow is above. It means that if you look at my face again, or your own, you can see that the eyebrow is more upwards compared to the eyes. And that means that when you're shading and the same light is coming from the right upper, this like might have like a light cast shadow below it, just to show that the area is slightly above and there's light being blocked below it. I want to talk about the fourth one first before we talk about the three. I drew a circle. It's because it's so if we bring out the guidelines for eyes again, let's see that. So you can see, and the application for this is very interesting. Is that it also applies for the eyelid as well. Eyelid is quite spherical, so when the light is shown here, that means that this part of the area is slightly darker than this area. Okay, so that means that when you're shading this area, this part will be darkened because of the sunken eye and the transition area. This part will be darkened as well, slightly darkened as well, because of the protrusions and the spherical perspective. So yeah, these are the little details on the eyes that will make your realistic eye drawing more pop and looks more interesting. So yeah, this is the reason why I have this photo over here. It just shows that there's the, I can't see I'm not sure where the light is from, but let's say the light is from here. Then that means that this area, so that means that this area will be lighter. This area will be light. This area will be slightly darkened, and then this area will be slightly lighter, but still darkened because of it being more inwards into the face. And then the nose will be here, and then something like that. Yeah, hopefully you understand what I mean. It's a bit vague, but yeah. Finally, in terms of three, the realistic drawing has more 3D feeling, whereas anime style is more plain. I'll just bring out, I'll bring out the illustrations. So this is the illustrations I found by Echoes. And I like this, the colors and the character as well. But it is also a very good demonstration on what I mean by anime styles, or more plain facial features. Whereas on the left is the illustration I'm currently working on, and coloring her with a more realistic style. So let's analyze their facial features. So first, we'll just see what we learned. So in terms of eyes first, so you can see that the eyes, okay, I'll just bring out her here. So in terms of eyes, you can see that I have the thickness of the lower eyelid shown with this line. I have the creamier colosco over here. I have the crossovers of the eyelashes and longer eyelashes at the side because of perspective. I have lower eyelashes shown. I just give some redness around the eyes. And these techniques are mainly just from Gatan, which I mentioned multiple times from my previous videos, a colossal course by her. But yeah. And that's the eye part. But if you look at this Echoes illustrations, there's no colosco over here, not much lower eyelids. It's more or less like a more plain eye in terms of structure wise. In terms of facial features and the ups and downs, so the nose bridge is very protruded. This area is sunken. This area, as I mentioned, it's the spherical structure of it. This area as well. This area as well. And the nose has its own structure, eyelid structure, and then got the lips as well afterwards. Whereas Echo's, the face is somewhere here. Might have a little protrusions on the top because of the nose, and then going down, out, and then back down in. So as you can see, that more realistic coloring has more 3D facial features, whereas the anime style is more or less like a plain structure. There's a little bit of shadings below the eyebrow, but overall more or less more plain. Overall more plain compared to realistic version. And then finally, in terms of realistic style I think has more balanced emphasis on different facial features such as eyebrow, eyes, eyelashes, nose, lips, maybe face a little bit. Whereas anime style mainly focus on eyes, and then the nose, mouth are abbreviated, simplified compared to realistic style. So if you want to draw a more realistic style of a character, you need to have a sense of harmony, like a harmony of different facial features. Make sure that they are equally emphasized or focused so that nothing is popping out or stand out, and the eyes shouldn't be very shiny, obviously because of realistic version. Okay, so that's all I learned recently in terms of realistic style of coloring. So overall, this video is a knowledge-based video. It's not a I show you or I draw this for you to see. It's more or less like a I let you know what kind of details you can add on to it. And I feel like if with more knowledge, I was here when coloring Lucy, which is another drawing I drew previously. I was previously here, but now with more knowledge on realistic drawing, I can start putting more details or simplifying more things. I have a better understanding of what I'm doing, whether I should darken this area, should I put a little bit more details on the lower eyelids or lacrimal carbuncle as well. It's just broaden your options, and it's very interesting and very exciting because you have unlimited potential. You have unlimited potential of what you want to draw. You can draw more realistic version, or you can draw more anime style. You can draw something in between, and it's just very fun and very exciting. So yeah, I'll try to finish coloring her and then put it in my Instagram. And thank you very much for watching. Just good luck, have fun, challenge yourself when drawing the next illustrations. Put in more details and try to make the character look more realistic. Start studying about it, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.